Hello again and welcome back. So let's move on in our preparation of setting everything right for our order fulfillment. And now we're going to be setting up our DSers settings. So to do that, just start off at the back end of your Shopify store. We're going to move over to apps, click on DSers, and then once you are in DSers, go all the way to the bottom and click on settings, and you should end up here. Also make sure you click on account so we start from the very beginning. So the first thing we are going to do is make sure that you're logged into AliExpress, that you created your account and logged in and everything is good. They aren't going to stop asking us to link our AliExpress account until we do. And we want to do that because it's the only way to automate our order fulfillment by connecting DSers with AliExpress. So the first thing we will do is move down and then click on link AliExpress. Then I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna click on authorize. And then we're all linked, easy as pie. Now we're also being asked to install the DSers Chrome extension. We can do that, which allows us to go directly to AliExpress and import product with a single click. But like we've already looked at with the importing products and choosing products, we're gonna do all of that in DSers directly. So we're not gonna need that extension. So let's start from the very beginning at account. The first thing we wanna do is verify our email address, and that is mainly for security reasons. So I'm gonna click on send verification email, and they're going to quickly send me an email. I'm going to click on confirm email. And then it said success, and then it took me to this page. I can just close this down and go back. And now if I update this page, we're all verified. Perfect. Now we have our account, our email, our password. There's nothing we need to do. Just make sure that we're connected to AliExpress. That's gonna be super important. Moving down, we have stores. Now, if you have multiple stores, you can make sure that they're connected to DSers from here. But for our intents and purposes, we're only gonna have one store, at least to begin with. So there's nothing we need to do here. Moving down to product. Now, we have a couple of options. Use the AliExpress ID as product SKU. We can just check this off. Now, the stock keeping unit isn't super important for us because we're drop shipping and we're using other suppliers. So we can just leave this checked and let AliExpress and our suppliers deal with that. None of our concern. Set products as taxable. So we're not gonna play around with the taxes. We already spoke about that. We're gonna set a set price and not add in any additional tax to that. We're gonna deal with the taxes separately afterwards and just take the profits as they are. Then we have customized product description. Now it's asking, what do you want to push into your store? If you remember, first we go and we find suppliers in a product, and then we import that product. And when we have imported a product and we end up here, we go in and we edit the product, and then we have a bunch of things to edit. But under description, we have specifications and we have overview. So it's basically asking, what do you want to be pushed to your Shopify store? If you look at the settings, the options you have, you can push only specifications and overview, or only overview. It's by default set to specifications, and we're gonna use it that way too, because we don't need any of this overview data. We're not gonna play with that at all. We're only gonna change all of these specifications and write our own product description. So just leave it as it is, only push specifications, and then we make sure that we edit this part only, and we can ignore this part down below. Okay, moving down to pricing rule. Now, pricing rules are interesting if you are planning on importing a ton of different products and you really want to speed up the process. Pricing rules can be handy. I personally don't use it. I don't think you will need to use it either, because we're going to be very careful with our products and edit everything ourselves. But let me show you how it works. First of all, we have a store and we have pricing templates. So I click on the store name, and then I can apply different pricing rules. So the basic pricing rule is basically you have the pricing cost, and what do you want it to change with? Right now, the basic pricing rule is I want it to be double the normal price. So what does that mean? That means that if a product costs $5, this pricing rule is going to be, so we are going to be selling it for $10 because it says times 2. And that is going to be our price. So if we're importing a product for $5, then we are automatically going to sell it for $10. We can also do plus, meaning we're going to add $10 to whatever price that is at the supplier already. So there are different ways we can approach that, and we can also have a rule for the compared at price if we automatically want all of our products that we import to have a sales price. Remember, the compared at price is going to be the one that is sort of has a strike through, and then it's going to say sale, and then it's going to show the real price. Just like this. This is the compared price, and this is the actual price, and it comes with a sale tag. So we can use this if we want, and we want the pricing cost, the compared at price, usually to be higher, let's say 2.5, something like that, so that we always have a higher compared at price. You can also do standard pricing rules more in depth. So for example, for products at the cost range of $0 to $10, they are going to be added in $10 plus from the original price. And if it's from $10 to say $30, it's going to be plus 20, etc., etc. Now, this is checked in by default. It doesn't really matter because I always go and change it anyway, just like we did when we imported the products and we set our own price. So you can leave this just as it is. There's nothing we need to do, but now you understand how it works. And then we have the currency. If you're selling in a different currency, do you want it to auto convert and do their best? You can just leave this as it is, because when we import the products, we're going to set all of this up ourselves, so this makes no difference. We can also assign cents, meaning that when we import a product, we can make sure that all those products ends with 99 cents at the end. Again, I prefer to do this manually, so I don't leave this checked. There's actually nothing I do in pricing rule, but now you know how they work. So moving on, then we have shipping. And shipping is super important, because if you can set default shipping settings, then automating your order fulfillment later on is going to be much faster and much easier. So what we can do is that we can add a global shipping method. That means that for basically all of your orders, what is going to be the preferred option? Now, it's not going to be the cheapest shipping method that it's currently set to. And the reason for that is the shipping times are usually super long. What we are going to do is that we're going to write AliExpress standard, and we're going to set this to AliExpress standard shipping. And that means that this is going to be the default option globally to the countries that we're shipping to. Now we can select a specific country as well. What you also want to do is go down here and click on choose a country and then write United States, because if you manage to get a product that has USPS, meaning that they have a US based warehouse that has a much lower shipping time, then you want that to be the default. So below here where it says add more shipping method, we're going to write USPS, and we're going to go ahead and choose that method. I'm going to show you in the order fulfillment section later on that you can change this manually as you go through it, but we want to set these up as default, that globally it's going to be, I'm just going to open it here at the tab, it's going to be AliExpress standard shipping almost all the time. Not always, but almost all the time. Make sure you check this out when you pick your product. I'm going to collapse this. And then when you're shipping to United States, if possible, you're going to want to use USPS. But if they don't have USPS, you're going to want to use, again, AliExpress standard shipping. So the top one is always the preferred choice. The down below is the second preferred choice. If there is no USPS, then we're going to use this one. So those are the two ones that I recommend that you do set up. Moving down, we can make this even more advanced, meaning if there's a certain tracking period within certain days, you can set up a certain shipping method. We don't need to make this any more complicated. And then you can also add the global shipping method based on the product, and there's nothing we need to do with this. This is gonna do more than enough for us, and I'm gonna show you how to play with this more in the actual order fulfillment lecture that's coming soon. So that's all for shipping. Then we're going to move down to order, and this is super important. First, you're going to leave a message to the AliExpress seller, and it says, I'm drop shipping. Please do not put any invoices, QR codes, promotions, or your brand name logo in the shipment. Please ship as soon as possible for repeat business. Thank you. This is so important because remember, you are just the middleman here. Here's the supplier, here's you, here's the customer. In the actual reality, the supplier, of course, could be selling directly to the customer, but as the middleman, we are doing all the job getting customers, meaning we don't want the supplier to have any connections to the customer at all. We want to have all of the connections with the customer, all of the branding, all of the marketing, just literally everything. So we're asking them not to have any form of contact with our customers. So there's nothing you need to do here. This is in here by default, and it's perfect. Scrolling down, we have override phone number. This is important because when you're doing the order fulfillment, you may have the customer's phone number being added in. Now, in all of the years doing Shopify and doing dropshipping, I've never, not once, had a supplier call my number. So don't worry about being called to. What's important here is that you write in your phone number just to cover the customer's phone number. That's what's important here. You don't want the supplier to have any form of contact with the customer at all. So I'm just gonna write in my phone number, and then there are more options down here. We can scroll down and see there's nothing we need to do. Sorry, that went a little fast. Nothing we need to do here with the default phone numbers. There are different numbers for different countries. Absolutely fine. Nothing we need to do. Order management. Now this is very interesting. We have a canceled order optimization. That's a weird thing, but basically there are certain filters for the AliExpress suppliers, and if they see a customer that has a weird name, that order might get flagged and the order might actually get canceled. So by using canceled orders optimization, that means that certain part of the customer's name is going to say not available, and that is going to bypass that filters and make sure that you have much less canceled orders. It's a very strange thing, I know, but just leave this on by default because you don't want to have canceled orders just because you're stuck in some automated filter. And then we have request fulfillment cancellation. So should this ever happen, you want to request automatically and instantly that you fulfill that order and not have it canceled. So it's just going to take care of itself if you have these two activated. So make sure that they are both activated. And then we have tax. If you don't want to pay VAT through AliExpress, you want to pay it yourself, you can add in your iOS's ID in here. We're not going to do that. Chances are that you don't have a VAT ID either. And because you don't have a VAT ID, there's nothing for you to put in here, and you don't have a company, most likely, to write in here. So you can just leave this all blank, no problem. And the same thing in Shopify. Shopify is probably asking for your VAT as well. And VAT is your value added tax ID. And if you're a company and you are in Europe, you get a VAT ID so that when you order certain products or sell certain products, the value added tax are automatically removed for the business. But again, if you don't have a company, don't worry about it. We're just gonna leave these blank. So moving over to PayPal. Now, PayPal is just one of multiple ways of paying for the order. You can use PayPal, you can also use your card, but the benefit with connecting PayPal here is that first of all, it's going to be easier with the order fulfillment, and secondly, the tracking number can actually be sent as a PayPal invoice for your customers. So since I'm going to be using PayPal, I'm just gonna go ahead and click on connect and then just log in, and then I'm gonna click on agree and connect. And now we've connected our account, easy as pie. I love that expression. Moving down to shipping confirmation. Now shipping confirmation, basically when you have fulfilled an order, what do you want to happen for the customer? If we click on our store, if you have multiple stores, you're gonna have a drop down menu of multiple ones, and just click on your store, you have something that says activate fulfillment notification email sent by Shopify. You really want this activated. So that means that once you have fulfilled the order for the customer, when the supplier has processed that order and sent it out, then they are automatically going to send a notification to DSers, and DSers is going to automate the order and give them a tracking ID and send a tracking ID and fulfillment notification to the customer completely automatically. So the supplier lets DSers know that the order is fulfilled. DSers automatically sends out a fulfillment notification to our customers. The less we need to work, the better. So we have a couple of options here. And first we have the shipping carrier. And what you want to do is that you don't want to use other. We're going to scroll all the way up to the top and use default, because this is going to show up on their invoice. If we use default, then the actual carrier is going to be shown as default. And in the US, it's usually going to be USPS. In the UK, it would be APC. It just depends what carriers are connected to where they live. So use default here. And then we have the custom tracking URL, and you want to use 17 track. And the reason we're using 17 track is because they work all over the world. And the way it works is that they get a custom tracking URL that looks like this, and then your unique order ID is going to be set automatically at the end here. So they just need to click on the link in the email email they get, and they can track exactly where the order is. Super handy. And then I'm gonna click on save. I'm gonna move down to notifications. So what do you want to be notified for? For example, do you want to be notified when a product is out of stock or not available anymore? I like to be notified of that because if I have a bestseller and it runs out of stock, I want to know about it so I can go ahead and use the supplier optimizer and change it and keep my sales going. Super important. So if a supplier changes price, do you want to be notified? I usually don't really care about that because we're usually talking about a couple of cents. I find that it doesn't matter much, but you can be notified should that happen. Canceled orders, I want to know about it. I want to keep track on those things. And the stock keeping unit changes doesn't concern us one bit. I'm not going to be notified for that. And then moving down to synchronization. So we have automatic inventory update, and this is going to affect the inventory update on your store, on your products practically. So this is very important. When a product is out of stock or no longer available, do you want DSers to do nothing? No. When a product is out of stock, I want to set the quantity to 0 on Shopify, because if there's no product in stock, there's nothing to sell, and you are going to have to contact the customer and say, sorry, we're actually out of stock, or they're going to have to wait even longer, and it's just the best way to get unhappy customers, okay? So we're going to automate this by clicking on set quantity to 0 on Shopify. When a variant is out of stock or no longer available, do you want DSers to set quantity to 0? So it's going to set it to 0 only on that variation of the product, not the entire product. When inventory changes, do you want DSers to, well, update to Shopify automatically? And this is cool because if you have a product that it says has about, let's say, 3,500 in stock, and a customer goes in and checks that, and then they come back, say, a week later, and they see there's only 3,300 in stock, they know that people are buying this product. They may not be buying it from you, but they don't know that. It's just a psychological sales trick to make them see that, hey, people are really enjoying this product. I should probably be getting it too. It's true, they are, and they are actually selling, just not from your store, but the customer will never know that. So then I'm gonna click on save. Scrolling down, we have automatic price update. When the supplier changes price, do you want DSers to? And I'm just gonna leave this to do nothing because we set prices for a reason. They're going to have a big profit margin as it is. There's nothing we need to do. Update product price. Now we can update if we have been doing any changes, but there's nothing we need to do right now. Sync Shopify orders. There's nothing we need to do here right now. And then sync all the orders numbers to Shopify additional details. So basically, do you want the AliExpress number to be in the additional details of your Shopify orders? You can have it. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't make a difference for your customer. It doesn't really make a difference for you. It's just if you have a lot of orders, you want to know which order was, in which AliExpress product number, then you can sync it, but it doesn't really matter in the end. And then synchronize Shopify order notes. So then basically you're gonna get the order notes from the AliExpress supplier directly into Shopify. There's no real benefit to having either of these synced. You can, but in the end, it doesn't really matter. So that's all of the important settings in DSers. And once you've set all of these up, and make sure that you do, they are mandatory in order to automatically and properly fulfill the orders later. We are now going to move on to the next lecture and set up all of the settings in the backend of our Shopify that we haven't yet. So that's the final step before we actually learn how to fulfill orders. See you in the next lecture.